The 8th seeded Miami Heat just pulled off one of the greatest upsets I have probably ever seen in NBA history, beating the Milwaukee Bucks in a gentleman sweep in 5 games. A team, by the way, that many people picked to win an NBA championship. What the Heat just accomplished is something that is talked about in NBA hypotheticals. Not something you actually believe is going to happen, but somehow the Miami Heat did it, headlined by Jimmy Butler. Pretty much every night of this series, he was looking like Michael Jordan reincarnated. But how did the Miami Heat, the 8th seeded team that was just in a win-or-go-home situation in the play-in, manage to beat the best team in the NBA from a win-loss record standpoint? Well, as cliche as it sounds, it really starts with the heart and effort that the Heat play with. In game 4 and 5 in the fourth quarters, the Heat were down 15 plus points in each of those games, but they found a way to claw themselves back in the game with timely shots and stops and playing with a high motor. In game 4, the comeback was headlined by Jimmy Butler taking over and Caleb Martin chipping in. However, for game 5, it was completely opposite this time. Jimmy was on the bench to start off the fourth quarter, and Bam and the other supporting cast led the charge to come back in the game. The Heat and Bucks didn't start off the quarter too good until this possession. This is an early offense situation where Bam sets a screen to create space for Gabe, and then he settles for the pull-up 3, but misses, but Bam manages to recover the offensive rebound, and then he shoots his routine short midi jumper. This series and this game just wasn't Bam's night as a scorer, but possessions like this is what I want to see from Bam going forward, where he actually tries to take Brook Lopez one-on-one, finds a pretty good looking shot, but he just misses. But Bam trying to look to score is what helps the Heat offense poised to be dangerous, and that what kept the Bucks on their toes. Again on this possession, looks to give the ball to Bam again, but this time he's stationed in the low block with an empty corner. He just uses his strength to back down Chris, and he hits him with this nice shimmy to draw the and one, and that's what I like to see. Bam got the space to operate. Now you have to use that space to your advantage and actually pressure the defenses to actually create good looking shots for yourself. This was one of my favorite plays of the night that Spo drew up. It starts off with a horns action and Duncan screens for Lowry to have him attacking downhill, and Duncan flares into a DHL with Bam after he gets the ball from Lowry's pass. Because of how dangerous of a shooter Duncan was in this series, instead of the typical drop coverage by Brook Lopez, he actually steps up, and this opens up a short roll pass to Bam. And now this forces Giannis to peel in a little bit, and that just leaves Kevin Love wide open for the triple. The Miami Heat in this series was so scorching hot from 3 that it leaves many people, including myself, to believe that this is one of the fakest shooting you're going to ever see from a team. The Miami Heat in the regular season were shooting 34% from 3, which had them as the 27th best three-point shooting team in the NBA. Currently in the playoffs, they're shooting 45% from 3, which puts them as a comfortable number 1. And when you compare that to the regular season, they made an 11% increase from the 3-point line, which is just ridiculous to think about. And part of the reason for this wasn't just because the Heat found luck being able to put the ball through the net. That's also because of one of the greatest strengths of the Bucks defense, drop coverage. And if you guys been following me for a while, I've talked about the positives and negatives of drop coverage pretty thoroughly, but the positives they gives is they bait you into taking mid-range jump shots, and they bank on you not hitting it at a good enough rate that they'll find with conceding the pull-up 3. Well, it is a pretty good strategy, but here's the problem that arises. The Miami Heat in this series nearly shot 50% on mid-range jumpers. At that point, Coach Bud should have at least looked at toggling the coverages a bit, or at least have Brook play higher in the drop, not just conceding these shots to the Miami Heat, who clearly were capitalizing this all series long. Look here, Chris Middleton is fighting for his life to try to keep up with Gabe and get over the screen. Gabe attacks and goes downhill, but because of how deep Brook Lopez is in a drop, Gabe just picks his spots, and whatever it is, he just rises up for the jumper and hits it right in front of Brook Lopez. And briefly, I want to give a big shout out to Duncan Robinson this series, with his minutes being absolutely shut off throughout the regular season, to now getting rotational minutes in the playoffs and thrive the way he did makes me really happy of that, because he really didn't waste this opportunity. He shot 74% from 3 in this series, which is actually just such a crazy number to look at because of him being able to be such a reliable shooter. He created so much space for Jimmy and the other players to operate on the court. When Jimmy Butler subbed back in, Spo made a big change that really altered this game. He made Bam the primary ball handler. Kevin Love goes to set a pin down for Butler that flows into a pick and roll, and with Lopez in drop, Butler just picks his elbow to shoot that jumper. Now on this one, the same thing. Bam is pulling the rim protector away from the rim because he's in the middle of the floor by himself, and you got 3 Heat players in that deep corner. This is called a simple high-low action where Jimmy's coming off 2 staggers and makes the cut, and Bam makes a beautiful read to hit Jimmy in stride to score at the rim. It's pretty much the same action again, but this time with one less screener, and Jimmy does something slightly different. Because Drew is guarding Jimmy so close like this to prevent the same cut from happening again, when Love comes to screen this time, Jimmy just has to make this simple adjustment and just curl off the screen, which gets Drew behind him good enough where he can just finish the layup right over him. These are adjustments that Spo was doing that easily could have been countered if Coach Bud just merely switched these actions, but clearly Coach Bud wasn't as in tune as Spo was. Also, as that saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Heat goes to the same action again, but this time it leads Butler to setting the screen for Bam, which is called the inverted pick and roll, where Bam is the 5-man getting a screen from Jimmy. Bucks actually decides to switch, but because of Butler's slip to the rim, he actually gets behind Lopez to score a good and 1 that now brings the game within 3. Of course, for good measure, Heat runs the same action again. Love goes to set the screen, and Holiday actually decides to go under the screen, which frees up Jimmy to lace up the 3 and tie it. And after such a big lead that the Bucks had, the Heat were right back in it to tie the game and eventually win. Also, I know a lot of this talk has been about the offense, but you do have to give big shout outs to the Heat's defense, especially in the fourth quarter, and you got to give big kudos to Bam Adebayo. Bucks only scored 16 points in the fourth quarter after having such a hot third quarter. They went 3 for 19 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and had 6 turnovers. And the reason why Bam gets the lion's share of the credit is because of the stellar defense he was playing on Giannis. I kid you not, I can't think over the last 3 years who's been a better man defender against Giannis than Bam. Because of his ability to stay in front of Giannis, and he doesn't fall for any of the fakes, and still have the ability to, when Giannis actually drives, to have the strength to absorb the contact and still jump up vertically to get great contests and sometimes even blocks. Giannis was 1 for 9 in the fourth quarter and had 2 turnovers. And looking over the film, you could without a doubt say Bam was the biggest reason for why Giannis struggled in that fourth quarter, which inevitably led to the Bucks offense being completely ice cold. And lastly, and certainly not least, Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy Butler arguably had the greatest first round performance in NBA history. He averaged 37 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot nearly 60% from the field, 44% from 3, and had a 67.1 true shooting. This is video game like numbers. Maybe not even that because of how efficient he was. He dominated literally every matchup he went up against. Just look at Jimmy Butler's shooting percentage against different Bucks defender. He was without a doubt giving every single person who tried to check him buckets, 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 buckets. And add on top of that the elite defense he was playing throughout this series. And to me, I don't even think it's close that so far into these 2023 playoffs, Jimmy Butler has been the clear best player in these playoffs. Yet there is still plenty of games left to be played before we can officially crown him that. But to see the Miami Heat, a team that was having such a disappointed season after being the #1 seed last year and being probably one shot away from going to the NBA Finals, to fall to the 8th spot, so many inconsistencies, so many question marks that were being raised for this team, they managed to pull off the impossible, beating the #1 seed in such a quick fashion in 5 games that made it one of the greatest upsets, not just only in NBA history, in sports history, period. And with that, I pretty much went over everything I wanted to in this video. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button since it helps my video perform better on the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button and the post notification bell to always be notified whenever I upload a video. And let me know in the comment section below how far you guys think the Miami Heat will now end up in the playoffs, and if they could be the first 8th seeded team in NBA history to win an NBA championship. Guys, more videos are going to be coming out this playoffs. I'm for sure not going to go through that same drought I've been doing with you guys. More videos will be coming out in a timely manner, so stay tuned for that. And with that all being said, I hope every single one of you guys who watch this video have a blessed day.